I never expected the answer to come from a pattern hidden across the entire Bible. For years, I heard people talk about the 3 days of darkness. Some said it would be a worldwide event. Others claimed everyone must stay inside their homes with blessed candles. Stories spread across the internet faster than anyone could check them. But when I searched the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation, I found something far more surprising. The Bible speaks about darkness again and again, but not in the way most people imagine. This is the story of what I discovered. I was sitting in a quiet library, surrounded by old Bible commentaries and study notes. The deeper I searched, the more one question stayed in my mind. Why does darkness appear at the most important moments in God's plan? It wasn't just one verse, it was everywhere. It began in Genesis. Before light was spoken into existence, darkness covered the face of the deep. The world was empty, silent, waiting. Then God said, "Let there be light." Light always followed darkness. That pattern never disappeared. Years later, another darkness appeared. This time it covered Egypt. The Israelites had already watched 9 terrible plagues strike Pharaoh's kingdom. Yet Pharaoh refused to let God's people go. Then came something different. No hail, no frogs, no insects, only darkness. The darkness was so thick it could almost be felt. For 3 days, no Egyptian could see another person. No one moved from where they were. Yet in the homes of Israel there was light. This wasn't simply a weather event, it was a separation. God was showing the difference between those who trusted him and those who rejected him. The ancient Jewish teachers often saw this plague as more than history. It became a picture of God's future judgment before final deliverance. Just as Israel left Egypt after the darkness, God's people would one day experience final redemption after another period of darkness. The pattern had begun. Centuries passed. Then the prophet Joel described a future day unlike anything before it. He declared that the sun would turn into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord. Joel was not describing an ordinary eclipse. He was speaking of cosmic signs that would announce God's intervention in history. Darkness would not be the end, it would be the warning. The day of the Lord was approaching. Isaiah saw the same thing. He described a future judgment so great that the stars would stop giving light. The sun would be darkened, the moon would not shine. The heavens themselves would seem to collapse into darkness. Ancient scholars understood that these signs represented both literal cosmic disturbances and the overthrow of human pride. When kingdoms believed they ruled forever, God reminded them that even the lights of heaven answered to him. Then Amos added another piece. "Will not the day of the Lord be darkness, not light?" The people expected God's coming to be a day of victory. Instead, Amos warned that those living in rebellion would find it terrifying. Darkness symbolized judgment upon sin. Light belonged to those who walked with God. As I kept reading, I noticed something unexpected. Every prophet used darkness differently, but all pointed toward the same destination: judgment, repentance, deliverance. Darkness always came before restoration, never after. Then I reached the words of Jesus. On the Mount of Olives, the disciples asked him about the end of the age. Jesus described wars, famines, earthquakes, persecution, false prophets, great tribulation. Then he said something remarkable. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The words matched Joel, they matched Isaiah, they matched Amos. Jesus was connecting every prophecy into one final picture. Darkness would be one of the last great signs before his glorious return. Not the return itself, the announcement. I suddenly realized something that many discussions had overlooked. Jesus never mentioned 3 days of worldwide darkness. Instead, he pointed to prophetic darkness connected with cosmic signs and the coming of the Son of Man. The exact phrase, 3 days of darkness, appears only in the plague upon Egypt. Everything else builds upon its meaning rather than repeating its duration. That changed everything. I continued searching. The crucifixion revealed another hidden pattern. As Jesus hung on the cross, darkness covered the land for 3 hours. Creation itself mourned. The light of the world bore humanity's sin. Even there, darkness came before resurrection. 3 days later, the empty tomb declared victory. Darkness never had the final word. Life did. Finally,